Chris and Friends. How to pay off debt using a first lien HELOC. Part 1.
I'm so excited to have you here because today we're going to cover 3 very simple things. Number 1, we're going to give you the steps to pay off all of your debt. Number 2, we're going to show you how to pay off your mortgage. And some of you might be saying, why would I pay my mortgage off? I got a 2.62% mortgage. We're going to show you why. And then number 3 is how you're going to be ready to invest. But we're not going to just do that with me. We're going to do that with the team. We got Christy Van, Harrison George, and Mr. Craig Yenny. We're going to dive into this and we're going to give you the actual tactical steps on how you can breathe a little bit better because your debts are paid off. Christy, let's start with you. How do people use the velocity banking and why?
Velocity banking is just a strategy. It's a concept that teaches you how to use the bank, to use it to serve you and your income. So we're basically just changing the way we're using the amortization schedule into a revolving line of credit. And when you do that, even though it's going to show you a higher interest rate, it's a simple interest. That is where all of the interest savings comes in. That's how we're going to use your own money that you're already making right now to pay off your debts.
I love that. And Harrison with CMG, lending, financial, and bank CMG, how does your bank help people do this where you can help them pay off debt?
Yeah, I mean, essentially we have this loan called a first position home equity line of credit. And this product at the end of the day allows for individuals to take their daily income, weekly or monthly income, and have 100% of it get applied to their mortgage balance. And their payment is not based off what they borrowed, like in a normal 30-year mortgage. However, it's based off of what they owe. So as they owe less, their payment goes down, meaning they save more money monthly, which means they pay their home off faster and it begins that cycle.
But a lot of people would think about that and they would say, well, I've got one of those cheap 30-year mortgages. If I want to pay it off faster, I just make extra payments. How is the all-in-one better than that?
Well, for most people, if you have extra money laying around, they're not going to make 100% of their money that they have left over at the end of the month as a principal reduction payment. So it's not as efficient in many instances as applying it to a first position HELOC, where you are taking 100% of your income and applying it to your mortgage balance. However, that 30-year mortgage, due to the amortization schedule, actually costs most people more in interest than they realize. A 3% interest rate is much more than 50% of their borrowed amount in actual interest.
So our goal today is to get you out of debt and ready to start investing money. And we're going to do that without having you work any extra hours. We're not going to have you work any longer, any harder, and we're not going to have you take on any additional risk. So if that sounds like music to your ears, where you can kick back and start to get comfortable with your life as it is today and no third-party debts, then you're really going to love this. But here's what we're going to do different. For the first time in any of my YouTube videos, we are going to show you the mathematics. And we're going to do that by showing you the trifecta using velocity banking, infinite banking, and the all-in-one product, so you can use it all as one, but see the math behind it. So let's dive in. But before we get into the whole nuts and bolts of this, I got to ask you all for a favor. How about that? Okay? I need you to click that little subscribe button. And also, while you're clicking the subscribe button, what I need you to do is smash that little bell right up top so you're notified every time we put out new content. So Christy, give that a smash. Harrison, give it a smash. Craig, sorry, you can't smash it. Let's dive into it. Christy, let's get into the velocity banking. You've helped thousands of people get rid of debt. And you know, the best part about this is it's no longer just it's not a concept anymore. It's a mathematical certainty. So just walk through like 1 or 2 examples of how you've helped people get out of debt. And I know we did this before. You talked about that one couple, because a lot of people, when they think about debt, they think of people that maybe don't have a lot of money. That, you know, when people are thinking, oh, they're in debt, oh, those are the people that are broke, the people that are poor. But that's not the case. In today's world, there are so many people, high income earners, that are literally buried in debt. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So, you know, just like you said, people think that, oh, okay, well, they've got $10,000 a month. They shouldn't be feeling any kind of crunch. You know, $50,000 a month, what a joke, they're wealthy. But I don't care if people have $2,000 a month coming in or they have $100,000 a month in income. they're still paycheck to paycheck because they're loaded in debt. And the more you make, the more you spend is what they say, right? So these people that their income, is much higher than the Americans' average income, they're still suffering. And don't we just want to breathe? When I work with people, that's what I teach them, is how to breathe financially, because the American people's in a really tough position. They're really, really suffering. And it's not, you're not suffering with an illness. You're not suffering because you broke your leg, but you're suffering financially. Marriages are suffering. Families are suffering because they don't know how to breathe with the load they're carrying in the debt. So that's what we teach on the channel. I mean, Fantastic has video after video, scenario after scenario, just helping people to get free.
And Harrison, I know we've worked with you a lot, but you've also worked with Christy in helping. I don't know how many all-in-ones you've done. You guys started that product. Was it back in the 2000s or the 90s?
Early 2000s.
Early
2005, 2006.
And this isn't a new concept. This is an interesting thing. I was just on the phone with somebody the other day. They were from Canada. And they're like, that's just the norm up here. Like, this is how our mortgages work. But here in the States, we've gotten so wrapped up into the traditional 30-year fixed, where it's an amortized mortgage. But everywhere else in the world, for the most part, uses a very similar situation to the all-in-one. Why is the U.S. either behind or are they ahead in the way that they do mortgages?
I mean, so the most prevalent countries is going to be Europe and Australia for this product. Yeah, Canada has access to products like this. The 30-year mortgage was really created after the Great Depression in helping incentivize home ownership. Obviously, when most of the country's losing their job, not having enough money to even pay for food, they're eating dog food, for Christ's sake. So it is truly a product that helped people get out of it. Now, today, it's because values are so high, it's just a way for banks to make a boatload of money, and they say, hey, why change it? We're making great money. We don't need to do anything different.
But you guys are different. And what do you call your bank?
Yeah,
the anti-bank bank?
I just like to say it. That's not an official tagline. However, we're trying to provide customer service to individuals that may not fall in that $10 million in asset income class. We're wanting people to feel as though that they are the only person we're talking with, because truly that is good customer service. And helping people pay off their debt, get a little bit of room to just breathe, it really is life-changing.
All right, well, let's bring in, I always call Craig the man who's good in the sheets. That is the Excel sheets. Women, get your head out of the gutter. Mr. Craig Yenny, tell us all a little bit about this thing that you've created, this mathematical wizardry called the Vault.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're learning about different concepts. Like Christy Van is talking about velocity banking. Harrison's talking about the all-in-one. And what I've found in my travels is that people can grasp these concepts, but the implementation side of it is really hard. Like, which debt do I pay off first? When do I pay a debt? When do I take a chunk of money from my velocity banking tool? And so this is kind of where the Vault was born, in really just in wanting to help people implement and see how this works with the math. So that's what the Vault is all about. That's why we built it. And it should just be like a GPS for your finances. Just tell you when to pay each debt, how to pay it, when to take the chunk out of your all-in-one to practice velocity banking. And not only that, go ahead, Chris.
Instead of just telling people how to do it, let's actually show them the math. Because I told them in the beginning, Craig, I kind of, let them know today we were going to give them the tactical way to pay off their debt, pay off their mortgage, and get ready to start investing money. Because this is a two-part series and this is part one. So could you actually show us the mathematics and show people how, even without knowing Christy, myself, or Harrison, how just reorganizing their debt can put them much further ahead of where they're at. But then by layering in velocity banking, the infinite banking concepts, and the all-in-one product, they can absolutely wipe their debt out in a fraction of their time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I'm going to go through is what we call the Debt Blaster Trifecta. And just think of this program as it's going to meet you where you are. You may be listening to this right now going, well, I can't get there. I can't do this yet. listen, we're going to show you a step-by-step process of how to get there. So it's going to start with this concept we call the trifecta. And so let me share that out with you, Chris. All right, what we're seeing here is the vault, and I'm going to walk you through what's called the debt blaster trifecta. Now, as we talked about, if you're not ready for velocity banking, you're not ready for infinite banking, we want to meet you where you are. And the first step of that is to go ahead and list out your debts. And I don't know about you, but I think sometimes when people just take this step of listing this, putting on a piece of paper, getting it into the vault, and you look at that and you go, wow, this is my debt. This is what I have to deal with. What is my plan? And what I see people doing in their plans sometimes is randomly throwing money at debts, hoping they'll go away. What we're talking about with the Debt Blaster Trifecta is a methodology, a step-by-step plan to get you from where you are in debt to out of debt so you can build wealth. So what is step one? We're going to get all of our debts classified. We have personal credit cards, we have personal loans, we have medical debt. You might have a completely different mixture, but what we want to do is come up with how much debt do we have, what are our payments, and what are our rates. So the first thing is we're going to do in this Debt Blaster Trifecta is look at a payoff strategy. If you do nothing and you just continue to pay debts the way you've always done them, this specific debt profile shows you paying that off in 181 months. Of that $74,000 of debt, you're paying over $30,516 in interest. So if we just take one step and say, let's get a strategy put together, that strategy could be snowball, lowest balance to highest balance. You might want to do that to get a quick win. You might want to do the debt avalanche because mathematically and long term, it's going to be the fastest and the least amount of interest paid. Or you might look at the cash flow index because you want to get rid of those inefficient debts first and free up some money to go into velocity banking. But regardless, what we're going to do is show you the outcomes if you were to do debt avalanche. 80 months versus 181. I'll sign up for that. 30,000 interest on a no strategy or 22,000 just simply by reorganizing our debts and having discipline to follow that plan. So that's step one. But that's not where you want to stay. Once you start freeing up cash flow, you want to start to leverage and talk about what does Christy Van teach? She teaches velocity banking. And in velocity banking, there's a little bit of work here because what we want to do is go through and figure out what are your expenses? What expenses can you pay on a credit card? What expenses can't be paid on a credit card? What's your income? And of all of those things, do you have a velocity banking tool? And Harrison's teaching us about the all-in-one. The all-in-one is a great velocity banking tool because we can put all of our income into it, pay our expenses, take chunks out of that all-in-one, and throw it at our debts. So that's what velocity banking is all about, and we're just simply showing you the profile. But now here's where it gets exciting. We have an all-in-one velocity banking tool here. We have our North Point all-in-one. We have a limit of 183,000 available because of our equity and our mortgage. And right now we've got about 153,000 left of that. So what we're going to do is take chunks of that, about $14,000 to $15,000 chunks, and throw it at our debt, rebuild our all-in-one, take a chunk, throw it at our debt. So let's see what that does to our payoff strategy. So now we're looking back down here, looking at the no strategy. We're going to have a little bit of discipline to do the avalanche and be more efficient. And now when we tack on velocity banking, in 21 months, not 181, not 80, but in 21 months, all of those third-party debts are gone by doing velocity banking. Now we're going to recapture that money back into our velocity banking tool in 2 months. So think about it. In 23 months, we're completely out of debt. Instead of paying $22,000 of interest or $30,000 of interest, we paid $5,124. That's pretty strong. So what we're talking about is using the all-in-one for your velocity banking tool, run your income out of it, pay your expenses, and take chunks out of your all-in-one to accelerate your debt pay down. Now, here's the cool thing about this. We just introduced efficiency with the debt avalanche. We introduced speed with velocity banking, but we don't want to get you just to zero. And that's what we'll do is we'll get all your debts paid off and we'll get you back to zero. That's why we want to introduce the concepts of infinite banking into the mix as well. So now let's say that we allocate some of our cash flow We do a whole life, a specially designed whole life policy that supports the infinite banking concept process. We're going to use the cash value to help accelerate the debt. So not only do we have infinite banking helping us pay down our debts, we have velocity banking help us pay down our debts, and we have our efficient order helping us pay down our debts. So simply by loading our policy and activating our cash value boost, we're also activating our velocity banking boost. Let's just see what the payoff strategy looks like. So now instead of 181, we have a combined strategy of velocity banking, infinite banking, and the debt avalanche. So if we just focus on infinite banking, you might sit back and say, well, that looks like it slowed me down. That is correct. We're now taking 27 months to pay our debts off, 48 months to pay our policy loans back, and 75 months to be completely debt-free, meaning we've paid our debts off and we've recaptured back into our policy. But here's what you don't see in just doing debt avalanche and velocity banking. We don't have any cash value built up. We don't have any savings built up. But in this velocity banking strategy, we have almost $100,000 built up of cash value that we can use for our wealth building. That's our next step. We'll have available credit in our all-in-one. We can use that for wealth building. But look what happens when we take the debt avalanche for efficiency, infinite banking for wealth building, velocity banking for speed, and we put them into what I call the trifecta. 10 months, all of your debts are gone. Every creditor you have on that list, gone, out of your life. 11 months to pay back your infinite banking system, 2 months to pay back your velocity banking tool. So we're completely debt-free, recapitalizing our policy, recapitalizing our velocity banking tool in 23 months. And not only that, but instead of paying $30,000 of interest on the no strategy, or $22,000 for the debt avalanche, or $11,000 for infinite banking, or $5,000 for velocity, we're now only paying $2,250.93 in interest. And we have over $31,000 of cash value built up in our policy by the time we're paying off our debts that we can use to, say, refinance, or maybe we're going to finance a new car. Maybe we have a major purchase. Maybe we want to get into investing. You know, the options are unlimited at that point. But now I'm going to leave you with one final thing. You might look at this and go, wow, what do I do? I've got this infinite banking thing. I've got this velocity banking thing. How do I know when to pay certain debts? Well, that's where we give you the schedule. And so as you look at this, you'll see in month one, we're going to take $14,587 out of our velocity banking tool, which is our all-in-one, and we're going to start throwing into debts and wiping them out. So in the first month, personal credit card, gone. Business credit card, gone. Personal loan, gone. And we're going to throw the rest of our medical debt. Then in the next month, after we've started our policy, we funded that, we're going to take $32,000 out of that policy and throw that at debts and continue to wipe those out. Now with velocity banking, we're going to run our income into that tool, pay our expenses out of it. So we're going to be rebuilding the balance. So we're rebuilding that credit limit. So in month 7, we're taking another chunk and we're going to throw it at our debts. And at the end of the day, if you just follow this map, this is going to get you out of debt. It's going to get you out of debt in the fastest way, as well as building wealth. So Chris, I'm going to throw this back to you and just see if you guys have any other comments you want to add to this strategy. But this is what we call the debt blaster trifecta that is available to anyone that wants to use the vault.
Well, I think one of the cool things there that you just showed is the actual mathematics. And I know when some people watch this, they're thinking, oh, that's a lot. But the schedule that you give them literally just says, do this, then this, then this. So there's no more guessing. It's kind of, to me, like a GPS in my car. If I want to go somewhere I've never been, I type in the coordinates, the address into the GPS. The GPS literally says, go straight for 2 miles, hang a right on this street, go straight for another 1.5 miles, hang a left. You've arrived at your destination, right? It's a pretty simple thing. So that schedule you just showed is that exact GPS. And just like any GPS, if you make a wrong turn, that schedule will bring them back on course. Now, can you just real quick show one final thing, is because this happens to just about everybody. Something comes up. The original schedule, the debt avalanche that we put together, something happens and we're forced to have to make a change. Something just isn't going to work exactly how the system tells us. What does the system do? What does the vault do when things don't go exactly as planned.
You just recalculate. You may come in and have to update your income numbers. You may have additional expenses or debts. So you go ahead and put those back in there. Your velocity banking profile is going to be, updated, and you just simply reapply, and it's going to run those numbers for you. Alternatively, you might have another debt, and so you can come in here and just add an additional debt to the mix. You might have debts that you cleared out because you had a bonus or a tax refund come in, and you ran that through your system and paid off some debts. So you can just come through here and delete those out of the mix, recalculate. So that's the whole purpose. We don't want to just give you a static map. We're going to give you that ongoing GPS with those continual instructions on what to do as your finances, your numbers change, money comes in, money goes out. So you have ability to recalculate.
Well, I could think of this as a really powerful tool that all families should be using because, listen, you sit down, once a week, once a month, whatever you set up is like a family meeting to look at the finances. And right there in front of them, they can see how much more cash flow they're going to be taking back into their family. And they can also see, well, if, the significant other actually went out on a spending spree or not, how much that affects the finances and how much longer it takes. You can be like, see, you going out and doing that now just added 2 months to how long this is going to take. So now you're going to have to pay for that. I'm just kidding. But Christy, what are your thoughts of this and how can you use this with your clients?
Well, I'm getting ready to jump up and run around the room. I feel like I say that a lot, but when you use velocity banking and you see the difference that the tool made, just using the velocity strategies, but then you have something that actually shows you where to put what you're going to be spending, what you're going to be bringing home, and reduces that by even more. I mean, I think that what this did for me, seeing this overview, was it showed me I'm on the right track by teaching what I teach. But then to know that something is going to show you where to put your income, how to use that velocity debt tool that you're using, there's nothing that's going to beat that. That's just beautiful.
Love it. And Harrison, what are your thoughts?
I think that this is amazing. I mean, at the end of the day, we can sit on the phone with somebody for an hour and we still wouldn't learn everything about their finances, right? So this tool allows for us to really build a game plan on how they can pay their debts off as specifically and exactly as possible. That is going to be completely different than just what we would do over the phone with them. We don't know when they're going to earn their next paycheck, or if they have a payday that moved from here to there, they change payroll systems. They're going to know that, and they can update this system in real time. So instead of us scheduling calls with them 4 or 5 times a month, it's actually going to allow for them to just click update, which is amazing.
So folks, listen, like in the beginning of this video, we said we're going to show you how to pay off your debts. So we did that. Craig went through and showed you that just by reorganizing the way you pay your debts off will significantly impact how long it takes and how much interest you pay. You just saw the mathematics. The vault actually did the math. Now you have 2 choices. You could use the vault, okay, buy a subscription to it and use that in your family to erase the debt, apply the velocity banking, apply the all-in-one, apply the infinite banking, and it just does all the math. Or you could grab a pen and paper, maybe you're good on the sheets as well, the Excel sheets, and you could do all that for yourself. But I just like to think of it as this just speeds everything up. It puts a real path in front of you and shows you exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it based on one truth that none of us, actually I shouldn't say none of us, no one can argue, and that is mathematics. Mathematics is always the path. So this does the math for you. Craig, how would somebody go about getting the vault for their own use?
So we are offering an early bird. So if you want to join us in this mission, we've got a lot of the things we're building, but you can go to the BYOBvault.com and look for the policy plan. And if you were to type in the early bird as a discount, it's going to be $19 a month, and you'll get everything I just showed you. Now, some of the things we didn't walk through was, how cool would it be if I could just reach out to Christy any time of day and ask her a question about velocity banking? How cool would it be if I could just reach out to Chris Naugle any time of day and ask him a question about infinite banking? So what we've done is we built a Chris AI agent and we built a Christy AI where you can go in and ask questions, and it's been trained on Christy's content. It's been trained on Chris's content. So guess what? They're going to answer the same way they would answer you if it was in person. So those are some other things that we brought into the system, but we're going to continue building, making this more useful, and really the next steps of what we have coming is the wealth building side. So we're going to get you out of debt, and we're going to show you how to build wealth with all those same strategies.
So folks, this was part one of a two-part series, because after this, you're ready. You're debt-free and you're ready to move on and start investing. So we're going to show you how you can use everything we just talked about, but at the next phase, the investing phase, the retirement phase. But before we do that, right here on the screen, I'm going to give you the link for the vault. Okay, it's easy, BYOB vault.com. And then when you go in there, you're just going to click on the plan that you want, and you're going to type in the early bird as the discount. We'll put this in the description as well, and you can get started with the software and also have access to Christy AI as well as myself AI. It's kind of scary to say that, isn't it, Christy? Like, our bots are actually probably smarter than we are, but we're not going to admit to that today. But you all can use them, and I think that was a great way to say it. Literally, people now have access to us 24/7. Yes. But it's not us, it's our clone. You know, I don't even know what to say about that. But anyway, moving on. So thanks, folks, for joining us. We're really excited. We're going to put up in the description the link to get a hold of Christy and watch her content on Fantastic, and how to get a hold of CMG Mortgage so you can get yourself an all-in-one. And hey, folks, if you like this video, check this one out right here, The Secrets of the Wealthy. We'll see you on the next one.